Good morning. Welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox. Y'all ready for a master's level preparedness seminar? I just got done watching TJ, the Bear Independent, on his Patreon channel this morning, where he answered someone's question basically on what are the roles and responsibilities of a prepper group. Words to that effect. If you are not subscribed to the Bear Independent, you should be. Excuse me, you should be. I am. So there's that. Sorry, it's early. And so I watched that, and that's what I'm going to talk about. Also, you are not going to hear anything really different or me disagreeing with TJ. What you're going to hear is nuances. And so if you take what he said and take what I said and compare and contrast, combine them and come up with your own, that's where we're getting to the master's level stuff, right? Well, TJ says blah, blah, blah. Fox says blah, blah, blah. Da-da-da-da-da. Boom, here's my idea, your idea. All right, I made notes. While he was talking, I said, oh, this is a great topic, so I started making notes. And again, you're going to hear a lot of the same things. If you hear us say the exact same thing, maybe you should put a little star next to that or something. So let's get into it. Until a group gets to about 100 people, there's going to be very few exclusive specialists. Meaning, I am the group surgeon, and that is all I do. I perform surgery. No. We are not going to have the luxury of exclusivity. And so I know a lot of people fantasize two ways about groups and roles. One is, I need one of these, and one of these, and one of these, and we need one of these. That's a fantasy. And then the other fantasy is, well, I'm going to be the group herbalist, because this is what I do. And we're going to get to that. Up until about 100 people, everyone is going to have to be Jacks and Jills of all trades. Everyone is going to have a wide range and scope of knowledge and abilities. So the good news is you can get started on that now, right? You're not in a group yet. You need to become a jack of all trades. You need to learn a lot about a lot of things. You need to be comfortable on your own. A lot of where I come from comes from the 17 years I spent in Special Forces. An amazing organization. And Special Forces is comprised of specialists who are very, very, very good at what they do, who are also generalists in what everybody else does, right? So they're very good at what they know how to do, and they're excellent at what they know how to do, and they're very good at what everybody else knows how to do. I mean, that's just the reality of it. And it's a rare breed of man selected for Special Forces, and so I'm just telling you, it colors how I think. But the people are by and large individualists, meaning they're very happy to be totally on their own, who are also team players. Ooh, that's rare. It's really rare. It's people who can bring themselves below the group to fit in, and people who can rise to the occasion when they have to. A lot of people are fine being around lots of other people doing group activities, but they're horrible if you put them alone in the dark. A lot of people are fine alone in the dark and on their own, and they're horrible when you put them with other people. All right, so this colors me. But to some degree or another, we are going to have to be really good on our own. We're going to have a wide variety of skill sets and ability to do things I'm not so dependent and specialized. And we should be good at doing something else or a few things. So we're going to get into that. Wow. Can't read my own writing. So I said you got to be jacks of all trades. Oh, and then we're going to have to develop or discover areas of expertise or emphasis. Everyone's going to have a job. And everyone's going to have a job that's not just put me anywhere, I'll do anything, I'll go dig the ditch. Okay, you're also responsible for this thing. See, some people are uncomfortable with that. Start getting your head wrapped around the idea that you are going to have some individual responsibilities in a group. We're talking a group now. And I shouldn't have to, but I'm going to go there. Groups are where it happens, right? One man alone, a man and a woman alone, you're living a hard scrabble existence for survival. You're not really living. It's when people get together and societies build that nice things get to happen. Something else that we need to wrap our head around, especially as Americans, because we are like probably one of the world's worst at this. The tribe comes before the individual. The tribe is more important than you or me. The tribe comes before the individual. The individual exists because of the tribe. The individual's strength lies in the fact that that individual is a member of the tribe, group, whatever. You may be told what to do. Ooh, but I'm an individual. No one tells me what to do. I'm a free man traveling on the land. Yeah, go dig a ditch. Now. Work under Sally. Who wants to dig ditches? Who wants to dispose of a rotting carcass that the medic says, if we don't get that out of here, we're all going to get sick? That's got to go. Who wants to do that? Nobody. People are going to be told what to do. They're going to be told by someone. It's not all, it sounds people, I used to read a lot of stuff about intentional communities, and people love the idea of, well, let's all just sit around and discuss this and dun. There's always somebody in charge, or it's dysfunctional. So be prepared to be told what to do. Because again, nobody's specialist is rotting cow disposal authority committee. That's nobody's job. So someone or someone's is going to be told, hey, I need you guys to go do this. No one's going to say, we have a cow that's rotting right next to our water supply. It died last night. Would anyone like to dispose of it? That's not going to happen, right? So be ready for that. Yeah, the special forces model that I talked about, everyone's a specialist and everyone is also cross-trained in all the other specialties. That's that jack of all trades thing. All right, first and foremost role in a group. What do you think it is? It's what TJ talked about, security. Security. Everybody has a role to play in security. TJ said it and I agree 100%. Every able-bodied person should be able to shoot a rifle accurately, correctly, competently. Everyone. When it comes to porcupine time, everyone ought to be behind a rifle. That requires training. That requires having a rifle. So those kinds of things. Within that, everyone being able to pull security. Not everyone is going to run your security patrols. Not everyone is going to react to the enemy breaching the gate. Your little old grandma, who's fine sitting behind a 1022 with a scope on it shooting out the window, isn't going to run over there and do things, right? You need your go-to warrior guys, if you will. They need to be trained to a different, higher standard. But that doesn't negate the fact that everybody needs to be trained. Cooks in the Army are taught how to shoot. I don't even know if we have cooks anymore, but they did when I was in. We do not have the luxury, though, of having a warrior class. That's a fantasy of a lot of loser dudes. I hope you're not one of them. I doubt you are. There's a lot of people who think, well, I'm just going to show up and provide farm security. I'll make sure the cattle aren't stolen by the bad guys. And for that, in their mind, I'll be the guy with the guns. The farmer will feed me and let me live in a house and dun dun dun. Dun. There ain't no warrior class. We're not big enough for that. You're going to dig ditches and dispose of rotting cow carcasses and clean the outhouse and wash dishes like everybody else there, warrior dude or dudette. So get ready for that. We don't have the luxury in a group, even in a village. In a village, what is it, Dunbar's number? I need to look that up so I can use it correctly. 150 people. Even in 150 people, you're not going to have anybody whose sole duty is, I'm the warrior. All I do is train and sit around in the team room waiting for a mission. No, not going to happen. Even children can be used in security. Kids make good sentries. You just put a kid, or depending on the age, 2, up in that tower and say, look out there. If you see anybody coming, beat these 2 pans together. So think about that. Everyone's got to do that. All right, so now we're secure from what's going on out there in the world. What's next? Food. Got to eat. Got to feed the machine. Somebody or somebody's is going to have to be responsible for the food. From maintaining the food storage, that's before the event, right? Somebody's got to be looking at the food saying we need more of this, less of this, 5 of these, 6 of those. Somebody or buddies should be in charge of that. And then once the event happens, you have the stored food that you have. How is that going to be distributed? How is that going to be rationed? Ooh, there's a thought that Americans don't like either, rationing. How are we going to make this last? That can't be a committee decision. That'll be a person or 2 or 3's decision. I guess that could be a committee, 2 or 3. It won't be a let's all vote on it though thing. So that's your food storage. What about your food, your agricultural production, food production? You've got gardens. You have foraging for wild edibles. You have critters. Right, critters that you eat, critters that provide milk and eggs, right, that kind of thing, or honey or whatever. That's a whole system right there. Within that, there will be specialists that will either rise or be appointed. You are clearly our beekeeper, but the beekeeper doesn't get a pass on cleaning the outhouse when that has to happen. Neither does the leader, for that matter. Okay, quick little war story. I may have told it here before. I've told it to people at Shofar Mountain before. I was in Special Forces. I was a major company commander, so I had 6 A teams and a B team, which is like the company headquarters. And my right-hand man was my sergeant major, and which is the highest enlisted rank one can rise to, right? That's my right-hand man. So he's a pretty important dude. And he had a brother who was a Marine E5. Do they call that sergeant in the Marine Corps? I don't know. He was a Marine E5. I know, big age disparity. But he did. And he came into my office one day laughing because we had 6 teams plus the B team, so we called that 7 teams. And we had things that had to be done in our company area every week. Grass had to be mowed. Hallways had to be mopped. We didn't buff hallways when I was in Special Forces. Latrines had to be cleaned, right? Toilets and showers and sinks and stuff like that. This stuff had to be done in the case of the hallways and the latrines every day, in the case of the mowing once a week. And so we would rotate responsibility for these tasks amongst the 7 teams. The lowest ranking man in my company was on the B team, the company headquarters. He was an E6, a staff sergeant. He was my supply sergeant. That's the lowest ranking guy in my company. Everybody was either senior E6s, E7s, E8s, or captains, warrant officers. So who do you think cleans the toilet? Everybody. The major, me, when it was my turn. And so my sergeant major came in and he was laughing. It was after the PT formation or whatever. And he had just talked to his brother out in California. And they got to talking, and the sergeant major was, his brother's like, "What are you guys doing today?" He's like, "Oh man, I just got done mowing outside," and it flabbergasted his brother. It's like, "What do you mean you mowed?" He's like, Yeah, well, it's B team's turn to do grounds, and so I mowed, and Jim mulched, and Joe, the major, trimmed the trees, whatever, man. And he goes, man, I don't even touch a lawnmower. I've got privates to do that. Yeah, well, we didn't have privates, and you're not going to have privates either. That's my whole point. You're going to have to get your hands dirty. You're going to have to do things that other people don't want to do. That gets to leadership, which is maybe another video for another time. All right, we're going long. I want to keep going. So you got your food person. You're probably going to have people who rise to the top of their different levels. Your goat wrangler, your chicken person, your veterinarian, whatever. And they will probably end up taking over those roles or being assigned those roles. But food's a role. Medical is a huge role after food. So you got security, you got food, you got medical. One, we just have to maintain the health of the group, right? Somebody has to say, no, we are not going to pee in the creek. No, we are not going to poop in the creek. No, we are not going to let human feces lay around. Yes, everyone will wash their hands before they start preparing the food. Yes, everyone will wash their hands before they sit down to eat. Those kinds of things. Believe it or not, those have to be enforced even with adults. Someone's got to take charge of that or be placed in charge of that. Hygiene. It presupposes they know what they're doing, right? But yeah, somebody's going to be in charge of that. And then you have your regular, injuries. Little Billy just fell down and got a big old cut on his arm. What are we going to do about that? We need to make sure that doesn't turn into, cellulitis or something, right? All the way up to, somebody just got shot. How are we going to deal with that person? So you've got that kind of medical stuff going on. Then you've got the whole other aspect, childbirth. Dealing with the babies and the mommies. Right? Doulas and midwives and all that kind of stuff. Herbalists fall under medical. I have a bit of a burr under my saddle for most online, and even some I've met in person, herbalists. Well, St. John's wort works really good for that, and queen bee pollen works good for that. Good, go get me some. Out there. Go get me some St. John's wort, prepare it, produce it, and deliver it to the person who needs it and monitor the effects. Don't tell me about something you read in a book, saw in a YouTube video, or bought from California. Ain't gonna work. That's the same as me buying penicillin. If you want to buy all your year's supply of St. John wort right now, I can go buy a year's supply of penicillin right now. Herbalists need to know how to use that and make the stuff we need today. Sorry, little soapbox. Dental and eyes. I told this story before too. The lady on the cover of my book. Oh, there it is again. Shame. I need to have a copy later on so I can hold it up whenever it comes up in conversation. Survivalist Family, Prepared Americans for a Strong America. Available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and fine bookstores everywhere. By Joe Fox. The lady on the cover of my book worked in an orthodontist shop. I told her, you're our dentist. She goes, I don't know nothing about that. All I do is tighten braces. I said, it's either you or it's me with a pair of vice grips and a bottle of whiskey. You've heard this, right? So I gave her manuals where there is no dentist. We bought her tools and said, something happens, you're the dentist. So yeah, dentist, eyes. Somebody should be collecting all the old glasses and storing them so that when somebody needs glasses, they can make something happen. So there's that. That's a role. And then another role. So we've got security, we have food, we have medical, engineer. Excuse my special forces background. Construction, mechanical engineer, electrical engineer, whatever kind of engineer you want. We need people to build and fix things. From we need to build a bigger outhouse or another outhouse to our solar panel isn't working anymore. Why not? Your group is going to need those people with those skills. Vehicles, working on vehicles, that kind of thing. Commo. A lot of people talk about commo. I almost think it's one of those shiny things. Oh, it's shiny. Communication is vitally important. Shoot, move, and communicate. Intergroup communication is important. I don't know to what extent communicating outside is going to be that valuable. sure, we want to know what's going on out there. We want to talk to people, but we also don't necessarily want the world to know where we are, who we are, what we're doing. It gets into techniques that most hams that I've run into don't understand. Military commo people understand, but most hams don't understand that. Security, ComSec. Um, Again, I'm a former Special Forces guy. I'm a rule breaker by nature, and hams just bug me. You can't transmit without a license. You can transmit without a license. There are penalties if one is caught. Don't get caught. Commo, though, that's the thing. We need to be able to talk to each other. Commo could go to counseling. Bob is mad at Bill. It's creating tension at dinner. We need to deal with that. They need to deal with that. Maybe a counselor could step in, right? But to the extent that you can have commo with the world, awesome. To the extent that your people can talk to each other when they're within the camp, when they're outside of the camp, when they're on patrol, awesome. If you can do that, that's the thing. Another area, and I may start delving into this area. I've thought about it. I thought about writing a book or two about it, is intelligence. Most civilians, which is most of you, have no clue at really what intelligence is. I'm talking military type intelligence, right? What intelligence is, how it's used, and how important it is. They don't know what they don't know. It's so important. It is so important to know, what is going on out there. Capability, intent, disposition, all that stuff. And that doesn't just happen, but it's real important. It could start with something as simple as community outreach. We're sending, our medic team out there to see if anyone needs minor assistance. Well, that's really an intelligence mission that's going on. It's community outreach, it's civil affairs, it's all those things, but really the main purpose is to establish rapport with the people and to gather intel. But having somebody who is good at that, in charge of that, because the intelligence is something that everybody doesn't do it, and everybody in the group isn't let in on what's going on. It's compartmented. It's need to know. And you need the right kind of person or persons in your intel section to make that happen. Good people are people who don't run their mouth a lot, but are also good at meeting other people. Something to think about. And then leaders. I get questions every now and then. I just got one recently from one of y'all, and I'm not trying to insult you or anything, but it's basically, how do I make people respect me as a leader? You don't. They either respect you or they don't. You're not going to make anybody do anything as a leader. Ooh, there's a whole concept right there, too. Everybody has a choice. Most people don't realize they have a choice, but everybody has a choice. Leading means you lead and they follow. That doesn't mean you're back here beating a whip, making them go do things. You lead and they follow. Too many people think they're going to be the leader. There's so much to being a leader, and it sucks. Quite frankly, it's hard, and it's thankless. And leaders are going to rise. Leaders will just arise. They will. Beyond that, yes, there are whole classes on leadership principles and how to act as a leader and those kinds of things. And again, if people are interested in that, I can go into leadership techniques and principles and stuff like that. But as far as you worrying about, well, let me just put it this way. If you're worried about how you're going to be the leader, how you're going to make people follow you, you're not the leader. There's that. There's a whole concept of formal and informal leaders. There won't be any formal leaders in the beginning. It will only be informal leaders. leaders, meaning natural leaders, that will rise and people will follow them. They're not going to make anybody do anything. But you will need leaders, and especially in the beginning. And I think TJ said this. I was writing notes, though, and listening out of one ear and writing notes and thinking out of the other side of my brain. It's going to be hierarchical. Typically, you have a leader. The leader has a committee of elders, if you will. This is throughout human history. You've got the tribal chieftain. You have got, sometimes right next to him, maybe a little bit below the chieftain, is the religious leader, the shaman, witch doctor, right? Boom. And then you've got the people down below, and they're divided into kind of these categories, right? You've got your war, the chieftain of the group, the tribal leader isn't typically the head warrior anymore. They usually get that position by being the head warrior, right? People respect their abilities, and they're like, okay. And again, I'm talking throughout history. But the chieftain isn't going to go, the chieftain is typically older. He's not going to go fight the 25-year-old dude with the war clubs, right? I mean, he doesn't have to, because he's got a whole tribe to do his fighting for him. See that point? So there'll typically be a war chief or a war council, and then there's like the peace council. Look, we can't go to war. We've got to go kill those bison, or we're going to starve this summer. So you little warriors, calm down. Let's go kill buffalo. All right, and so decisions are made in the tribe, and man, the guy who's all over this is John Mosby. He understands this stuff at a very deep level, and you should get his book. Man, I've got all his books. Somebody will write it down. It's the first one I reviewed, so I gotta go look at him. I have a stack of his books now. The Reluctant Partisan, maybe. But he talks about warlords in it, because he's dealt with warlords, and warlords exist as long as the tribe wants them to exist, and they don't exist as the warlord anymore. Something to think about. Not necessarily a position you want to be in. So, what can you do? This is going long. Make yourself useful now. Learn skills now. I get people all the time who say, well, I can't do anything in particular, but I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'll dig a ditch, or I'll do whatever. Those guys are a dime a dozen. Those gals are a dime a dozen. Next. Make yourself useful now. Get good at something. Man, there's never been a time in history when people could learn as easily as we can now with the internet. You can learn anything. You could probably learn how to do heart surgery if you really wanted to. So teach yourself some valuable skills, and please understand this, because I run into it all the time. Watching videos and reading books does not mean you own that skill. You have to go do it. If you want to learn how to be a mechanic, watch all the videos you want, but you better be tearing apart and putting some cars back together, right? Your fingernails should be black. I wear nitrile gloves. Okay, whatever. You got to do, right? But make yourself useful. Go learn some stuff now, and you can learn a broad range of things until you find something that you're really into, and then specialize in that. Get really good at that. Be the go-to guy or gal on that subject. Be the one who owns it in your group. There will always be somebody out there in the world smarter and better than you, but within your group there probably won't be. You'll probably be the best one, and if you're the best one at taking care of goats, you're probably the goat person. That doesn't mean you don't also have to clean the outhouse, right? I made a list of, we just had a meeting with the Shofarians, and I kind of knew in my head where everybody fit, but I just kind of wanted to hear what they said. So we went around the horn, and I said, tell me 2 or 3 things that you see yourself doing end times when we coalesce as a group and are doing these things. What do you see your role, right? And we went around. That's fascinating, seeing what people said, and got some ideas for that. Had more people that were interested in medical stuff than I thought. We're actually going to form a medical committee and start throwing some resources their way so that they can get better, right? Build an aid station and that kind of thing. But like, we have a couple guys on the crew who are great in the trees with chainsaws. They're like experts. Oh, I'm not an expert. Experts will always say that. There's always somebody better. Yeah, that's because they realize that because they've risen up high enough. But we have tree guys. We got a guy who's like, he hates being called a tailor, but he makes really cool gear like this. He didn't make this, but he makes stuff like this. SojournGear.com. And we have herbalists. We have animal ranchers, critter ranchers. What else did I write down here? Medics. We got stuff like that. Those are roles those people will fill they're filling them now, but it'll become more important, right? It's like someone has to be in charge of what we're doing with all these goats. All right, instead of everybody doing their own thing, let's kind of consolidate that so we can focus on other areas. So get good at something. Become wide based knowledge in these things, and then get good at something and be ready to do other things. We're all going to have to pitch in. Typically, the goat, let's just say the goat herd, call it the goat herd person. They're not doing all the work with the goats. They're just responsible for the goats. They've decided that, wow, this pasture is eaten down. We need another pasture. We need more fencing. The goat herd can't put up all the fencing. So at the meeting, the goat herd says, hey, we need more fencing in the next 2 weeks for these goats, or we're not going to have any meat in 6 months. Okay, that's something for the whole community to decide, how are we going to do this fencing? Engineer, get with the goat herd, work out a plan for fencing. Logistician, source the materials. That's usually the engineer. We're going to make this thing happen. Let me know when we can get it going. Boom. And then the whole community, minus security, is going to be out there putting in the fence, right? All right. I hope that gives you something to think about. Your comments are valuable, especially on a topic like this, because we're all different. We all have ideas. What do you see yourself doing? How do you see yourself contributing to the group? You just showed up at our group. We're sitting here with a council of about 6 people. We're looking at you and deciding on if we should let you and your family in. So what do you bring to the table? What do you see your role as? All right. I'll see you out there.